Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. This story, the Devil's Den accused murderer, and a lot of evidence as well as a confession in this case. Andrew James McGann, a school teacher of all things. How can we even accept that as the reality of this situation? And many people want to know, how was he able to jump from school to school? The school that he was hired at to begin shortly thereafter this murder in Arkansas was his fourth school in as many years. Shouldn't that pop a red flag somewhere? Shouldn't that really tell people that, wait, what's going on? What is the vetting process for a public school teacher? What is the background investigation? How was certain things missed on this guy? Certainly he couldn't pass a psychological test, I would think. Do they even give a psychological test? I mean, just that is something that I'm concerned with. So are there more teachers like Andrew James McGann out there that haven't been properly vetted and they're dealing with your kids every single day? And is it the policy of schools to just transfer their problems away? Just make the person resign. Now he's no longer their problem. That sounds like some other institutions, for example, the clergy, that would transfer problem priests. And I know it's not just the Catholic Church with that clergy problem. It's other religions also. So is this the posture of schools, that they do this? If it is, it's pretty damn scary. It's really damn scary. Anyway, folks, hold on to your hats. Hold on to your loved ones. Hold on to your cup of coffee. Hold on to your service dog. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
And now a word from our new sponsor. FanDuel is a legal and regulated online sports betting platform operating in the United States. It allows users to bet real money on the outcomes of sports events, major leagues such as the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball, NHL, and more. FanDuel also offers daily fantasy sports and online casino games in certain states. Sportsbook, bet on sports games and player props. Daily fantasy sports, draft a lineup under a salary cap and win based on player performance. Casino, online slots, blackjack, roulette, etc. in select states. Live betting, place bets, and real-time games. Joining me today to go into this case, this very disturbing case, is none other than retired NYPD Sergeant, professor at Albertus Magnus College, and attorney. Welcome to the show, Professor Mike Geary. Welcome, Mike.
Bill, good afternoon. Thank you for having me on.
You know, Mike, I think, we've done numerous shows on this topic, and I think what people are most concerned with, well, obviously, these two wonderful people, Clinton and Kristen Brink, lost their lives in the most heroic way, protecting their children. And some people have said to me in the chat, or made comments in the chat, oh, it's not heroic. They were just protecting their kids. Oh, really? Well, you go die for your kids and see how heroic you are, okay? Not just this, but Kristen took the kids to safety and then went back to help her husband fight this savage. This guy, this scary-looking psychopath. And so, in my mind, these two people are absolute 100% heroes. Your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, Bill, anybody that would think that what they did wasn't heroic is probably not a parent and has probably never, ever gone towards danger, and probably they're in the herd that runs away from danger. so they don't understand. So I'll forgive them for that. But don't sit there and say that what they did wasn't what a parent thinks that they should do, that a parent would do. A parent would lay down their life for their child, run into a burning building, run into the street to try to get a kid away from a speeding car, that sort of thing. That's what you do as a parent. You have children. I have children. They're grown now, but that's what you do. You look out for their safety, and their safety is number one priority. And anyone that thinks that or tries to belittle what they did, what the Brinks did, is a fool. It's an ignorant fool.
Mike, you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. Something, a lot of people may talk a lot of nonsense, but when the game is on, they may not be as brave as they're pretending to be, and that's what we're looking for here. Anyway, the big thing about this story, of course, it's an absolutely bizarre case, but a teacher arrested for Arkansas double murder admits to killing the married couple. So in essence, he confessed. A 28-year-old teacher has admitted to murdering the married couple found stabbed to death on a walking trail in Arkansas Park over the weekend in what appears to be a completely random attack. Andrew James McGann, 28, of Springdale, Arkansas, was charged with 2 counts of capital murder in the killings of 43-year-old Clinton David Brink and his wife, 41-year-old Kristen Amanda Brink, according to Arkansas police. The Brinks were fatally attacked while out hiking with their daughters at Devil's Den State Park on July 26th. The horrific assault occurred about a half mile into the park, with the husband attacked first. The children, ages 7 and 9, were not harmed in the incident thanks to the actions of their mother. We believe that the mother took them to safety and then returned to help her husband, Major Stacy Rhodes with the Arkansas State Police said during a press briefing Thursday. Following a days-long manhunt for the suspect, McGann was arrested shortly before 5 p.m. local time Wednesday at a barber shop in Springdale, about 30 miles north of the park. During an interview with the police, he admitted to killing the couple, according to Arkansas Police Director Colonel Mike Hager. DNA from blood recovered from the crime scene also matched McGann's DNA, Hager said. The suspect had sustained cuts on his hands during a struggle with the victims, according to law enforcement officials familiar with the investigation. Items recovered from his residence were consistent with being involved in this particular crime. Just absolutely 100% outrageous. There's a picture of him being arrested at that barber shop. So, Mike, your thoughts here? It's just such a horrific crime, and as I said, I so believe in these parents were unbelievable, and they did such an amazing job, and for it they lost their lives.
Yeah, Bill, when you look at what happened, the chronology of the investigation, the first break was you've got that picture, the actual photograph backwards, so you got a little bit of idea of how big this person may be, even though it's not forward facing. You've got the drawing, which artist rendition was pretty good, but I think the biggest thing up front was the car, because whoever took that video, or I'm not sure it was a security camera, I think it was an individual, took the video of the car leaving the park, and you could see the kind of make and model it was. People could debate what it was, but the police used that and figured out it was like a Kia Stinger, which isn't the most popular type of car. And the good thing is they were able to do, I guess you would call it a lawman search, and be able to go into DMV records and try to see who's got it. So you match it up with, maybe 500 people, 100 people, 50 people, whatever, and see they're a male and see young male, and just start cutting through, the search, making it a little bit, narrowing it down. And they got a suspect pretty much identified pretty darn quick. The DNA is great because for prosecution, that places him at the scene. It may place some of the poor Brinks, Mr. and Mrs. Brinks, DNA in the car, maybe on a knife or something like that. That's fantastic. But, when they first looked at the DNA, if he hadn't been arrested already because of the DMV search, then that DNA would come up with a 0 because he's not convicted previously of a crime. His DNA isn't in CODIS, so you don't have that. IgG, investigative genetic genealogy, takes a long time to do. We might be sitting here for 6 months or longer waiting to figure all that out. The biggest thing was the car. It doesn't seem like much in a high-tech environment today with DNA, fingerprinting, geofencing and everything else. Just figuring out the make of the car was the biggest break, and that opened up everything to narrowing in very quickly on Mr. McGann.
Mike, because it seems like the state police had several witnesses seeing Mr. McGann prior to the attack. In fact, a group of, I believe, 5 adults feared that he was going to attack them.
Yeah.
Perhaps he backed off that because there was 5 adults there.
Right.
And that may be why he chose the other group. The other thing, you have to look at this, and we mentioned it in our last show. Was he really targeting the 7 and 9-year-old children? And before he could target them, he had to kill their parents, didn't he?
Yeah.
If that's what, in fact, he was doing. And I find that extremely disturbing. Yet this teacher who taught at 3 schools in 3 years and was working on his 4th school had some red flags in regards to his dealings with children. The last school got rid of him because of what they said was classroom management. Please.
Right. What does it mean? It doesn't make any, the term classroom management doesn't even begin to describe what they were suspecting that he was doing wrong in class. But, one of our viewers suggested, looking at the picture of him from behind, that backpack that he has, some sort of kind of almost the thing that you do as a carry-on, like a soft-sided carry-on, like when you're traveling for, like, say, a weekend, that maybe that was intended for a child. And you know what? You can see the picture right there. I have to agree with that. I think that it's disturbing to think about it as it is, but we have to think about it as law enforcement. I think the children were the target. He was going to kidnap them and SA them, and then probably off them and commit a homicide later on. I think he probably saw the 2 parents. You're with your kids, your guard isn't up. You're just sitting there holding hands, talking to your children. Maybe he came up from behind them. They weren't really far deep into the park. They weren't like 5 miles away, 10 miles away, and no one around. So they had no reason to fear anything. He probably got the jump on them, and I'm guessing either from behind or he walked past them and turned around and attacked them, probably the husband first. But I think the children were the target, seriously, in this case.
Mike, the perfect storm in regards to the perpetrator's advantage is that cell phones, there's not a lot of cell towers in that area, and cell phones don't work very well.
Right.
In the Devil's Den State Park. What a horrific name, right? An appropriate name for what happened here, the Devil's Den. I'm going to play this from News Nation.
The suspect, 28-year-old Andrew James McGann. His profession? Elementary school teacher. That's right. He has no criminal history, but now he is charged with 2 counts of capital murder. Police arrested him yesterday at a beauty salon, of all places, in Springdale, only about 40 minutes away from that state park. His DNA reportedly matched DNA that was left at the scene. And police say he also admitted to killing those parents on Saturday in what appears to be a completely random act.
We have no reason to believe that there was any known association between our suspects and our victims. There's nothing to indicate that at all. It appears to be a completely random event.
And Clinton and Kristen Brink are being hailed as heroes for protecting their girls. Their 7 and 9-year-old daughters weren't harmed in this attack. And today, police shared new details on how it tragically unfolded.
So the information that we have is that the husband was attacked first. The mother did not return all the way to the car with the kids. We believe that the mother took them to safety and then returned to help her husband.
Want to bring in right now one of the best in the business, former FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. Bobby, good to see you, my friend.
Bobby is fantastic, a good friend. He can talk the talk, he can walk the walk, he can do it all. So listen to Bobby Chacon, former FBI agent.
And okay, so police say this attack appears completely random, but what's weird about it is they also previously said that he drove away with his license plate covered by tape. So wouldn't that indicate this was planned, this was intentional, or can two things be true at once?
No, I think it's intentional. I think it's hard to believe why he would cover his license plate with tape deliberately like that, unless he was planning on doing something that he didn't want his license plate recorded on. So I think that does indicate a bit of a planning. He had a knife with him, obviously a big knife that could kill two people very quickly. Just one of these, again, tragic, vicious murders that makes no sense at all.
And it's a violent attack that obviously led to his capture, right? Because he suffered an injury that resulted in blood loss. So it kind of tells you something about what this interaction was about.
You know, Mike, I just want to mention something. I know they had DNA. They probably had his blood on the scene, which equals his DNA. Now, I don't know how quickly DNA could come back as ID. I don't think it was identified during his search. Once they had him,
Yes,
I think then they can do the comparison because he wasn't in CODIS. That's the combined DNA index system that is run by the FBI. Two categories of DNA, forensic and offender. So he was not in CODIS. So I believe his DNA wasn't identified until they had him. Now they have him. They take a sample. They compare it to the sample in the crime scene. And you remember the Arkansas State Police said very little about this case early on. However, a couple of days in, they said the perpetrator was injured, which showed either he left blood on the clothing of Clinton and Kristen Brink, or he left blood on the scene, or both. He left it on the victims and on the scene. Apparently, a witness has said they saw him running to his car and he had blood all over his face. I mean, how horrific is that? Which to me says there must be blood inside his car, Mike.
Yes, and you're right. They got the DNA match similar to the BK case. I won't use his name. They had the DNA, but they couldn't match to anybody because he wasn't in CODIS. So it wasn't until they got him in custody that they got the match. And so that 100% you got the right person. I think this is the same thing, the same kind of case. They had blood, but they didn't have an offender. And until you get that offender and get a search warrant, for the blood and draw up the blood, that's when you get the match. So I think it's that the biggest thing was old-fashioned police work, going to DMV, narrowing down the suspects by car, age, location, gender, knock my glasses over, gender, all those things. That's the kind of the gumshoe kind of stuff that police do. We have computers now, but it's old-fashioned police work that the DNA made just certified this, or in a way, but it made sure that what they had done, the person that they got was absolutely that person. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But it all came down to the state police doing their job in exemplary fashion. I mean, that's the kind of thing that police do well, that manhunt where everybody's working 24/7 until you get the guy. You run him down, figure out who he is, and find him. That is law enforcement at its finest.
Mike, 100%. And I think they did an absolutely amazing job. Folks, our new sponsor, FanDuel. And I just want to mention a couple of common sports betting terms. Spread, a margin set by odds makers to even out teams. Example, minus 6.5 means that they must win by 7 points for you to win the bet. Money line, a bet on who will win the game. Example, Yankees minus 150 versus Red Sox plus 130. You must bet $150 to win 100 on the Yankees. A $100 bet on the Red Sox wins 130. Those are just a few terms in our FanDuel sponsor, who is sponsoring Police Off the Cuff. I'm going to go back to News Nation, to Bobby Chacon. Let me just hang on, guys. Let me just remove this for 1 second. We need the okay. Okay, let me get this up on the screen. This is from Law and Crimes, also Bobby Chacon.
Well, I mean, obviously premeditation, and then usually there's with a deadly. If you carry it out with a deadly weapon, if you do it like here in California, if you do it for greed, for financial gain, things like that, there are what we call in California special circumstances. So murder with special circumstances. So I haven't looked at the Arkansas law, but it's usually murder plus, and the plus could be a number of different things. Here in California, it's financial gain, or it's using a deadly weapon, something like that. So I'm sure that his actions here, and certainly the prosecutor has intimated that his actions here do qualify for a seeking of the death penalty. I mean, he obviously premeditated. He carried the murder weapon with him. This wasn't an argument. It wasn't road rage. It was anything but. And so he carried the weapon with him. He sped away. He knew he was going to either attack and or kill someone that day on that trail. And unfortunately, this loving couple with these great kids happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Just absolutely horrific. Mike, we can't even make any sense out of this whatsoever. So some of the things that we perhaps conjecture upon is why. The why. And could this, we always say coulda, woulda, shoulda. Could this have been prevented some way? But what do we know? And what did the schools know? This guy, I think, had some signs that perhaps he should have been reported to authorities. Your thoughts?
Yeah, they're looking back, and of course, hindsight is always 20/20. But there were red flags that were missed. 4, jobs in 4 years. This would be his 4th job in 4 years. The school districts that when they hire, I know some of them all they do is a DMV check to see if you've got like a DMV warrant out on you. They may not do fingerprinting in maybe some small school districts that aren't heavily funded, really aren't well funded. The starting salary might be really low, so it's hard to get a teacher with, say, the proper credentials, like say a master's degree. So and it's all balkanized. They're all operating independently, and they don't really have an interest in getting into litigation with somebody by firing them for cause. So they ask them, look, we can do this, but it's going to take a couple of years, but it's going to be bad for you if we find you guilty of something. Why don't you just resign and move away? And that seems to have been for many years now. This is what has been going on. They don't have the skill to do the investigation. They're going to need some work, like in some sort of investigator interviewing people, and parents may not want their children interrogated about what happened. So it's really difficult to get school boards in different regions, especially different states now. He's talking, this is like his 3rd state in 4 years. So people can slip through the cracks like a little worm rather easily. And it's been like that for forever. So it makes it difficult to figure out why this person keeps moving around, because they don't typically do a real investigation. There really isn't an investigation.
Absolutely. Folks, if you can, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share, and make comments. We love that. It hits our algorithm. Professor Geary is talking about what should be the minimum in a background check. Let's lay it out there. To me, fingerprints. Have to go for fingerprints, because then a criminal record, a criminal history will pop up. DMV check. Absolutely. A DMV check will show the responsibility you see in being a motor vehicle operator. Does that mean DWI? DWI may be a disqualifier as a school teacher. Absolutely, interviews with relatives. Well, maybe not relatives, with family, with people who lived near you, people who you worked with, perhaps friends. But if people won't vouch for you, that could also be a red flag. And I'm sure this guy, if you just look, I know you say you can't judge a book by its cover, but that photograph right there, to me, is quite distressing.
A mom and dad on a weekend hike with their daughters in Arkansas's Devil's Den State Park is under arrest. His name is Andrew James McGann. He was getting a haircut at the time detectives put him in cuffs. Even more shocking is his job, an elementary school teacher. And there are some major questions about his past, as parents of his former students are talking about the concerns they had when Mr. McGann was teaching their children. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Being held without bond, accused of a double murder. This is the photo that authorities put out late last night announcing his arrest. Here is part of the news conference from KFSM TV.
Because of their hard work and investigative skill, we were able to take a monster off the streets and bring relief to Clinton and Kristen's precious girls. And to the rest of citizens of Arkansas.
Police say that McGann was arrested while he was getting a haircut yesterday just before 5 p.m. local time in Springdale, Arkansas. That's about a half hour north of Devil's Den State Park. This is video that was posted to social media by the barber who said he was in her chair when law enforcement walked in. And this is video that was posted to the salon's Facebook page in Spanish of those in the barbershop talking about what had just taken place. McGann, they say, didn't talk much when he came into the barbershop, but it was about 4 minutes into his haircut that detectives entered and arrested him. They say that detectives asked McGann if he was the owner of the vehicle that was parked out front, and he said yes. Now, the actual barber posted this on social media, quote, "So I'm cutting a guy's hair and I'm shaking because now there's cops and detectives. I told them I haven't swept up the hair in case they need it. 100 said they did. Y'all, I'm shaking. Mostly because it's starting to look like it could be the man they're looking for, but not too sure yet." She then posts, "Update, it was possibly him, y'all. I could have possibly cut the Devil's Den killer's hair. He left expletive up. I barely started the fade." She then comments, quote, "They said it was a double homicide. I asked if it was related to the Devil's Den incident. It's looking like it was. I'm going to wait until I know for sure." Now,
wow. I mean, just think of that, Mike. Here you are in a beauty salon. A guy who's just committed a double murder wants you to give him a haircut. And then while he's in the chair, and he's a spooky looking guy. I mean,
Right.
To me, this face, this picture is a scary, scary photo. And this one here, not much better. The one on the right, Devil's Den accused, a school teacher. Just think of that. This guy's a school teacher. And we all remember the sketch that turned out, well, I mean, his face, the sketch looks like a much older man. But that's how they got started on this. And that's how great police work they did. Canvassing, getting videos from the scene, getting witnesses. That is how they caught this guy, not his DNA. The DNA is going to help build the case and put him in prison for the rest of his life because now it's matched to him. But I don't think it was matched. I think they got him from the vehicle and from witness ID and the sketch. And if you see something, say something.
Yeah, Bill, when you look at that video of the police, I've been retired 20 years. I would give anything to be one of those cops that walks in on this guy because you got to be one of them. Think about it. They probably didn't sleep for like 4 days straight. They're jacked up on coffee. They finally got this guy. You walk in on him and you're ready to do battle with this guy, you know, all the way on, get on the floor, fight him to the death. And he's sitting there and you sneak in and you take him down. That is what cops love to do. They did a great job. You know, they surprised him. And luckily for them, he did not have any sort of weapon on him whatsoever. That was fantastic police work. But to be there, I'd give anything for that. But you're right. They did it the old-fashioned way through DMV. That was fantastic.
You know, Mike, also, after the arrest, there was numerous search warrants. A, the vehicle. B, his home. C, his body, because I'm sure they wanted to get a DNA swab. There you go. And D, his cell phone.
Yeah.
So all of those things are additional pieces of evidence that will build this case. And it's so, so disturbing. The randomness of this attack, the fact that he just went there to kill 2 people, and perhaps he was there to kidnap the 7 and 9-year-old girl. I mean, the police aren't talking about that. They're not saying that, but they weren't saying a lot of things. And when we found out some disturbing facts about this young school teacher, it concerns us greatly. Mike, your final thoughts.
You know, unfortunately, he's not the only pedo out there in a teaching position. And so you always have to be on guard with your children and always be very, very vigilant about who's teaching them. Find out as much as you can about their teachers. But the onus right now is on the school boards. They have to spend the money, and they have to spend the money to do the background investigations, or else people like this guy will slip through the cracks. But kudos to the Arkansas State Police and the FBI and everybody involved in this case. They did a fantastic law enforcement job.
Yeah, I can't say enough about the Arkansas State Police and the local police and the FBI. Yeah. Unbelievable. When kudos are due to law enforcement, let's give them the thumbs up.
Yeah.
And let's applaud their work. And you saw how the colonel, how choked up he got about this case. You know, police are human beings and they have feelings, and he showed his feelings there. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, share us with your friends, and make comments. We have a show tonight at 9 p.m. with Scott Rouse, who's the body language expert. He's going to talk to us more about KOHBERGER'S suspicious body language. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.